Alright, so real quick, right off the rip. I told you guys that the fucking microphone fucked up in the video and I had to reshoot it. And I told you that I was fading fast. So, I left out a huge chunk of it that I shouldn't have left out. And everybody in the comments is making comments that's leading me to say this. And I'm like, fuck, I should just say it. So, here's what it was. Two things, really. I don't see the whole YouTube shadow banning thing going over very well. Now, Google and a couple other corporations, big, huge companies, they own huge swaths of the internet, right? And if they start doing, like, for real censorship, everybody's going to be pissed. Every American, at least, everywhere there's a free country, they're going to be fucking pissed. If you have any freedom of speech in your country, you're going to be pissed, right? So they're going to get a lot of shit over this. And governments are going to get a lot of shit over this. Americans are going to say, hey, I thought we had freedom of speech, and here Google's fucking with the internet. Like, what can we even do against that? You've got an American company censoring the American portions of the internet. That isn't going to go over fucking very well at all. So there's going to be a lot of problems with that, I think. So governments might get involved, and they might say, look, we're going to make the internet a utility. They're already talking about that shit. In which case, it will be regulated like a utility. Everybody will have their, you know, more or less free use of it. Like, you pay for it, you know, whatever. But it's there for everybody. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't. There's always going to be a YouTube. It may not be YouTube, but there's always going to be a place for people like me. You know what I mean? It's always going to be there. As long as we still have freedom of speech in this country, it's going to be there. There's going to be some place for people to talk freely and openly. So, whatever. We just look for that eventually. If this goes and doesn't stop. But, another point. YouTube doesn't really make money. I think the numbers are they recorded like $9 billion in revenue. But that is not profit. Technically it is. But, like, 55% of that goes to us, creators. Because we make 55%, or whatever the breakdown is, of the ad revenue. So already you're down to $4 billion, right? And you got to figure the servers and keeping those cool, and the people that have to be employed to troubleshoot and create new things, and this, that, and the other thing, come up with new features, shit like that. Do all their dumb fucking videos that they do, you know, all their employees. They don't really make a whole lot of money. They maybe make a couple $1 million, maybe a couple $100 million, maybe, as actual, like, profit. And that's fucking nothing to a company like Google. So, they probably don't give two shits about YouTube. That's why they're doing all this. They want to turn it into YouTube TV, right? I don't know if you watch the advertisements before videos, but I do. And I see a lot of shit like fucking, what is it, Survive the Night? That fucking horseshit looking show? Like, no, who cares about that? Even Scare PewDiePie. Like, I like PewDiePie now, but when he was just a dude that was screaming at video games that were scaring him, I didn't give a fuck about him. So I wouldn't have watched Scare PewDiePie ever. No, never. That fucking Me and My Grandma show, whatever, that chick that is with, what's her name, Rhea Perlman, I think? I don't even know what her name is. Fucking them in Hollywood, like, trying to be actresses. Fucking, who is anybody seriously watching that? The fucking Jake Paul movie where if you're stupid, we'll kill you. Like, if it was done right and it was a cool, you know, like Twilight Zone-y type thing, I could see that being that's a good concept. But Jake Paul running around away from dudes in black hockey masks, who gives a shit about watching that? So, you know, like, that's the kind of shit they're coming up with. And it isn't good. It's not House of Cards. You know what I mean? It's not Game of Thrones. We already have Netflix. We have Hulu, Amazon Prime, fucking HBO Go, Showtime On Demand, Stars On Demand. Fucking all this shit. And they're all making way better fucking shit than you guys are. Because you're using YouTubers. And you don't realize that it's not the fact that people like Jake Paul that makes Jake Paul a great idea to throw into a movie. Like, No, the Gabby show, I'm sure, is fucking shit on that Surviving the Night show. It's gotta be fucking stupid to watch all those morons just try and play off of each other and not really know what to do because they can't be edgy at all. You know, Tana Mongoose trying really hard not to say fucking enter to everybody on the goddamn show. Like, who gives a shit, right? So, if YouTube does this shit, they're gonna find out real fucking fast when they lose like 1 million fucking users in the first week of the shit. They're gonna find out real fucking fast that they have just given up the only thing that people really cared about on YouTube. And they're gonna not make any money at all. That's for damn sure. So, yeah, I don't see this lasting. If they take a massive hit in users in the first week or month of this rollout, they're going to be backpedaling so fucking fast. Well, you know, we tried it and we thought it would be a great idea, but it wound up being really bad, and the computer was just, it was doing everything, and we don't know. We tried to program it so it would work, and it's not our fault. Don't blame us. Please come back to YouTube. And fucking, this might kill them. You know what I mean? People might go, you know what? We're doing mines, or whatever it is that they're done to do. That might be the fucking thing of it. So, never fear. There will always be a place for fucking us to do our videos. It's always going to be there. At the worst, we just make our own fucking websites and do it there. Like, so, yeah. I mean, there's never going to be a time where you're not going to get some sort of enjoyment online. I wouldn't sweat this. Honestly, I wouldn't sweat this. I know I probably came off pretty doom and gloom because I was awfully tired, but I wouldn't sweat this. This is going to be okay. This is not a big deal. I really don't think this is going to matter very much. So, that's what I wanted to include in the last video, but I didn't, and now you know. Moving on. Hello! Today, we're going to be looking at Marina Shut Up. Talking about white guilt. I teased this. Now you get to see it. All I have to say before we start, though, is, hey, J-Star, wink.
Hey friends, it's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here to talk about everybody's favorite subject, white guilt.
Spider-Man would not be talking about white guilt. Spider-Man doesn't have time for white guilt. He's got the Rhino to deal with. What the fuck is wrong with you?
While researching white guilt, I came across several differing definitions of the term, and I think it's important to include a few of them here to help fully contextualize it.
Read the dictionary time, everybody! Woo! Gotta love fucking social justice videos.
Let's start with every teacher's favorite source, Wikipedia. According to Wikipedia, white guilt is an individual or collective guilt felt by some white people for harm resulting from racist treatment of ethnic minorities by other white people both historically and currently.
I'd say it's a pretty fair definition. Honestly, I'd say it's a pretty fair definition.
According to the anatomy of white guilt, guilt can be experienced by individual persons. It can also be felt by whole societies.
I would say that's a fairly good definition. You know? I mean, there you go.
A good example is the collective guilt of the German people for the Holocaust.
See, I feel that. Like, I can get with that definition. That, as an addendum, sure, why not?
George F. Will, a conservative political commentator who I disagree with on virtually every other topic except literally this definition, says,
Oh, with a setup like that, I can't wait to see what he says.
White guilt is a form of self-congratulation where whites showcase their innocence to racism.
Like, that's funny. I wouldn't really say that's a fantastic definition, but it is funny.
However, feel free to disregard the rest of the article that came from because it's pretty racist.
So you are a cherry picker. Good to know.
Some people who are white come from the perspective that they're not responsible for their ancestors' behaviors, so they don't have anything to feel guilty for.
I don't feel guilty for crimes I did not commit. What?
These types of people will sometimes even claim that they're the real victims of racism because they're being accused of racism.
That's a flowery way to put it. I think coming out and saying that white people are all bad, it's kind of racism. That's like saying black people are all bad, which is racist. So, I mean, I would never claim the victim status because, why? But you can't say, if it's good for the goose, fuck your mother.
But other white folks recognize that despite the end of racist institutions like slavery, de jure segregation, internment camps, in the US we still haven't abolished the long-term effects of those institutions, and thus they're still benefiting from them.
What? What do you want to do? What are the long-term effects of that shit? What?
Or at the very least, they recognize that they're not directly disadvantaged by racism in the way that people of color are.
I don't know. The playing fields are starting to get pretty fucking even, I think.
If you're curious about learning about the modern-day effects of historical racism, I go into detail about this in my Is Affirmative Action Racist Against White People video, which will be linked below.
Well, I'll have to check that out sometime.
What is my perspective on white guilt? We'll get to that in a second, but you might be surprised.
No, I won't. I can almost guarantee you I fucking won't.
Dr. Willard Galen, professor of psychiatry at Columbia University, argues that much of what people would label as guilt is actually a form of guilty fear.
I think I like where she's going here.
Such as a motorist might experience when he is driving over the speed limit and suddenly sees a patrol car behind him. You might recognize him from the opening of Gattaca, a film that... it's okay. It's alright. The motorist is motivated by a fear of punishment rather than a true sense of guilt over wrongdoing.
Yeah, I would say that getting your ass beat is a pretty good deterrent from calling somebody, bad name. Like, I'm with you.
I would argue that a good portion of white guilt stems from this sort of guilty fear rather than true guilt itself.
Yeah. Like, people are getting punched for being white these days. So, I'd say a good healthy dose of fear. Probably needed. But I don't think that helps anything.
In these instances, white guilt performs a social function, a fear of breaking social codes. In this case, the social code is not being a fucking racist.
Nah. See, the social code is not getting your blood on somebody else. Really, when it comes down to it. Because if you're driving along in your car and you're listening to a rap song because you like rap, and you're singing the song, and somebody beats your ass for that, like, that's not really racist. You know what I mean? Like, there are ways to talk to people using adult language, I think, that doesn't have to come off fucking racist. It's the person who thinks it's racist. It's kind of their deal as to whether or not they think it's racist. Like, fucking other people just don't. And there you go.
According to another article published in Frontiers, the function of guilt is to motivate people to avoid socially undesirable behavior.
See, that sounds too much like using guilt as a weapon to me. I don't like the idea of using guilt as a weapon. I don't like guilt trips. My mom used to put guilt trips on me, so I am extraordinarily, I have this great aversion to guilt trips. Don't try and guilt trip me. I don't fucking care. As soon as you start to guilt trip me, I don't care. Like, it doesn't work on me. You will always get the opposite response of what you're looking for if you're trying to guilt trip me. It will not fucking work.
In one of the first ethnic studies courses I ever took in college, I was introduced to a concept called modern racism.
I'm so glad I never went to college. What a waste.
Essentially, as time has passed since the legal abolition of slavery, segregation, etc., blatant racism has become less and less socially acceptable. While measures of prejudice, such as the Harvard Implicit Association test, show that racial bias is far from being eradicated, being considered a racist is socially stigmatized.
Yeah, you guys are losing that battle too. Like, people are getting used to it. They don't give a fuck anymore. Like, you're making that no longer a viable weapon for you, because we don't care. Like, you can call us racist for saying shit, and we just go, no. and like that's it. Like we don't give a shit anymore. So good job with that. Thank you very much. I think maybe we're showing you how it's done, but hey, just throwing that out there.
With complaints from white folks left and right about social justice warriors accusing them of being evil racists, I would argue it's safe to say that explicit racism falls under socially undesirable behavior.
Yeah, just ask Francesca Ramsey.
I think this might be one of the reasons why we see so many white volunteers going to Africa and posting dozens and dozens of pictures of themselves posing with poor African children on Facebook.
You know, it's funny. When you back people into a corner and put them in a situation where if they say, hey, I'm not racist, you go, well, that's racist. And if they say, oh, I'm just not going to talk about it, they go, that's racist. Like, you really can't lose or win. All you can do is lose. So when you're grasping for straws, some of those straws are douchey. But, you know, if we'd all just live and let live, be a lot less douchey shit, I think.
Rachel Dolezal also comes to mind. If that woman isn't the prime example of white guilt gone wrong, then I don't know what is.
See, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, Rachel Dolezal? White guilt? That's a white guilt thing? I'm guilty that there was slaves in America, and I'm a white person. So I'm going to infiltrate your race, and I'm going to become you, so that I can gain all of the advantages that you get, like tuition and stuff. And then I'm going to fucking... Really? That doesn't sound like a guilty person to me. She doesn't sound like she's feeling a whole lot of guilt. I don't get that at all.
In these instances, white guilt becomes a performative act when expressed publicly. The United States history of violent and systemic racism makes people uncomfortable, which is still going on today, by the way.
Yeah. Not like you think, though. Like, white people really aren't doing that shit all that much anymore. It's usually fucking other races now. White people are kind of like, you know, we just want to be left alone. I really get a sense in the world that white people just kind of want to be left alone. You know, like, just let us fucking do our thing, and you guys can just hate us, and we'll just continue to do our thing, and just don't yell at me.
When performed socially, the goal of white guilt is to relieve white people's feelings of discomfort and to prove that they're not racist like all those other people.
Yeah, I don't care if you call me racist. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not racist, and I know I'm not racist. And my black friends know I'm not racist, and my Mexican friends know I'm not racist, and all my other friends know I'm not racist. So, like, I don't care what you think. You know, like, if you want to think I'm racist, think I'm racist. I don't care. The people that are important in my life don't think I'm racist. My friends, my family, my subscribers, they know I'm not racist. They're the only important people in my life. So, you know, like, I don't care what you think, Marina.
In doing my research for this topic, I noticed that several conservative perspectives were arguing that liberals' goal was to make white folks feel as guilty as possible. Fuck, even large channels like The Amazing Atheist have argued this viewpoint.
I'm sorry, I'm white! That is so funny.
So I don't get accused of only using leftist sources and living in an echo chamber. Here's the description from The American Conservative.
Yeah, it's a great setup for your dissenting point. Oh, I'm excited for this.
One of the most persistent tropes on the racial right. Side note, I'm not sure what is meant by this term. I googled it and nothing came up.
Well, let's really dissect it. Racial, about race. Fair definition. And right, I would imagine, not your right hand, right side, right foot, whatever, but the right side of the political spectrum. So racial right would be right-leaning racial people. Who fucking cares? It doesn't even matter what it fucking means. Like, whatever. It's a fucking, you're reading a conservative thing. They're gonna use dumbass fucking shit like that. Because they're just as bad as you when you get too far on one side or the other. They're all fucking crazy at the fringes.
Is that major cultural institutions in the United States aggressively push a story of white guilt. The media and the education system, from pre-K to postgraduate, are the most frequent targets of this accusation. Though increasingly, churches are also charged with being strongholds of the social justice warriors.
You know, thinking about it, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of problems with that statement either. Perhaps I spoke too soon.
Ugh, social justice warriors, am I right?
Is that supposed to be a joke?
My name is Jeff.
I'll give this article credit for going on to question the methodology and the accuracy of conservatives who make these claims. Interestingly, they do cite data from a 2016 national election study showing that the majority of white Americans surveyed don't feel any level of white guilt.
Yeah, see, we don't fucking care. Like, we're hip to the whole we didn't do that thing. And we're kind of like, we didn't do that. So we don't really feel guilty for crimes that we didn't commit because it's fucking stupid.
However, this study only surveyed about 875 people, so it's impossible to draw any definite conclusions from it.
Well, you didn't really give a breakdown. Did she give a break? Well, you didn't really give a breakdown. Like, you said a majority. So, like, out of 800 people, or whatever, was it like 799 said they don't feel white guilt? Because I would say that's pretty fucking, it's proof of concept, you know what I mean? Like, the majority don't feel white guilt. Even with 800 people, that's good enough for proof of concept as far as I'm concerned. That might get you a grant to actually run a for real fucking study. You need that shit.
Despite this, the article concludes, even if there is a powerful coordinated effort to shame and demoralize whites, it does not appear to be working. The self-flagellating whites so derided by the alt-right and even many conservatives are a tiny fraction of white Americans.
Yeah, we don't care. They're all your allies. Like, it's all those people. Fucking, those are the people with the white guilt. Normal people, we don't give a shit, man.
But the question that people holding this perspective really should be asking themselves is, do people of color even want you to feel guilty?
Wish granted.
At the end of the day, guilt is just an emotion. But when expressed publicly in social situations, it often ends up centering white people's feelings in discussions that should center people of color.
Yeah, so quit trying to make us feel guilty.
This leads conversations such as ones about the disproportionate rates at which Black Americans are targeted by police brutality away from people who actually have to worry about being targeted by police violence. Instead, the conversation becomes about consoling white folks who are just really sad that racism and violence exist.
Well, quit telling us that we should be really sad that racism and violence exists.
You know, the real victims of racism. The question we should be asking is, what does guilt actually accomplish?
Nothing!
I understand that if you're learning about systemic racism in the US for the first time, it can be deeply upsetting and disturbing. But ultimately, white folks feeling sad or guilty about racism doesn't actually help people of color experiencing that racism.
Then why work so hard to make us feel guilty? This is your fault.
And I think in order to truly challenge racism, people experiencing white guilt need to move past that initial feeling and find ways to channel their emotions into change. Solution? A better alternative to feeling white guilt, which POC don't even want you to feel anyway, is turning discomfort into action.
Great. Don't feel guilty. Just give up your life to activism. And what the fuck is this shit? What is fucking Riley and... Why? What is that? Fucking, I want to smack your fucking hand in your mouth so hard when you do that shit. Like, fucking, it just looks stupid as fuck. Why do you do that?
If you see the way that people of color are disproportionately affected by racism, then don't center your feelings in these conversations. Seek out resources if you can. Being informed and reading up on police brutality, white privilege, representation, racial stereotypes.
reading up on things that'll make you feel guilty, that's a good way to just not feel guilty because we don't want you to feel guilty. What?
Is essential to being a helpful ally. You need to know what you're fighting before you'll be any help fighting it. Volunteer or protest if you can. I understand this isn't accessible to everyone.
Fucking reshoot it. If your shit fucks up, reshoot it. God damn it.
See if there are any marches in your area or organizations that work towards eliminating racism and provide resources for people of color. Share anti-racist work and especially perspectives from people of color.
You took the time to transcribe everything, but you couldn't be fucked to just reshoot it. Like, fucking... I was up till 2 o'clock in the fucking afternoon, yes. 2 hours after my bedtime I stayed up. Because I fucked my whole first recording and I had to re-record the goddamn thing. Fucking, you're an asshole.
Uplift marginalized voices and stand up for them when they aren't there to stand up for themselves. Just a heads up, this video is going to be part of an ongoing open-ended conversation.
You know, I believe Lacey when she says that shit. Not only because she's actually following through with it, but because I just kind of believed Lacey. I don't know. She had an honesty to her about it to her. I even believed Milo Stewart when he said, I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to seriously take criticism. And I want to seriously, have questions posed to me that I would like to answer. I believe Milo. Because there was a sense of honesty about it. I don't fucking believe you, Marina. I don't. I do not believe you. I don't think you're going to take any of this shit fucking seriously. I think you're too rooted in your horse shit. I don't buy it.
Based on the comments and where everyone is at, I'm going to be making follow-up videos related to this conversation. So definitely give your thoughts and feelings and perspectives in the comments below.
The fuck else is there to say about this subject? Seriously. Like, what else could you talk about with this? It's pretty, no pun intended, it's a pretty black and white subject. Dude. Like, I had something that could be perceived as racist happen to me recently. I was talking to a guy about, he asked me where I was from, where I lived. I told him where I lived. And he's like, oh, I heard it's getting dark down there. And I was like, but, it's people. Like, I live in a pretty yuppie area. Like, it's upper middle, And it's always been upper middle. And now we're getting upper middle black folk that are coming into the neighborhood. And, it's people. You know what I mean? Like, my parents live next door to an interracial couple. Which, when they moved in with my mom, was, oh my god, it's a white lady and a black guy. And, because my mom's kind of just goofy. Like, she's not even really racist. She's just dumb. Like, I love my mom, but some of the shit she says, I'm just like, Mom. But, she loves them now. Like, like, dude's out barbecuing, fucking, I'll go over and do my laundry, and he's out barbecuing, hey, how you doing? Fucking, we'll talk for a bit or whatever, and people. It's people. We don't have gangs. There isn't violence. There wasn't an upswing in crime. You know what I mean? It's people. People is people. And for the most part, people, when they move to the suburbs, they move to the suburbs because they don't want to deal with that shit. So, the parents keep a pretty decent rein on their kids because they're like, no, you're not bringing that shit here. We moved away from that shit on purpose. Like, this is a good neighborhood. Fucking stop being an asshole. So, it's people. And after I said that, he was like, So, like, it wasn't even racist. It was almost like gossip. I hear there's a lot of black people moving in the neighborhood. Is it crazy down there? No, not really. I go, oh, okay. Like, fuck it. But that could easily be misconstrued as a racist conversation. You know what I mean? But it wasn't. Neither of us have problem with black people. You know what I mean? But it was just, it was a thought that he had. And he asked me the question about it. And I answered, honestly. And there we go. That's it. But I mean, if there was like drugs on every corner and crime all over the place, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's gotten fucking ridiculous, you know. But it didn't happen. So I don't know. Like, people just, nobody cares anymore. I like what what's his name? Lucius Fox from Batman. God damn it. See, I'm terrible with names. It's so stupid. I remember his fucking name of his character, Batman, but I can't remember. Morgan fucking Freeman. Morgan Freeman said, when he was asked in the interview, how do you think we get rid of racism? Stop talking about it. Fuck yeah. Like, if everybody would stop giving a shit about it, it would fucking go away. And that's what's funny, because it's like, you know, a bunch of black people are moving into the neighborhood. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, you see them every day now. So nobody gives a shit anymore. The more used to things you get, the less you fucking care about it. It's the same thing with gay people. There's so many gay people everywhere, and so many gay TV shows and shit like that. You know, like RuPaul and the fucking Queer Eye for the straight guys, those dudes. Like, all of those people made huge leaps in normalizing just different fucking people. The Chappelle Show, huge leaps in race relations. People were getting along because of that kind of shit, because it was funny. People could laugh at it. It wasn't agenda. It was fucking, hey, here's some gay people doing gay people shit. Look how normal, you know. And people went, oh, and now nobody fucking cares. And it's gonna be the same way with trans people. We're gonna get used to it, and nobody's gonna fucking care. Right now it's an oddity. Sooner or later it won't be. It's how life works, man.